The sun was just beginning to rise over the dusty plains of northern Arizona when Rufus, the abandoned bull, lumbered slowly through the remnants of what had once been a thriving ranch. His coat, a patchwork of sun-bleached brown and scars, glinted in the early morning light. Once he had been a prizefighter in local shows, a strong, proud bull that drew crowds with his sheer size and presence. Now he was alone, a shadow of his former self, left behind when the ranch owners moved on to more profitable ventures. Rufus had learned the hard way that the world was unforgiving. Hunger was a constant companion, and loneliness a heavy cloak that pressed against his massive shoulders. He wandered day after day, through overgrown fields and dry riverbeds, his hooves kicking up dust that clung to his weary frame. It was a life of quiet despair, punctuated only by the occasional coyote howl or the whisper of wind through the juniper trees. It was on one of these solitary mornings that Rufus heard a sound that made his ears twitch with curiosity. It was a soft, pitiful cry, a desperate, almost human-sounding plea for help. Following the sound, he found a tiny bobcat, its fur matted with blood and dirt, trapped under a fallen branch. The little feline's amber eyes were wide with fear and pain, and its hind leg was bent at an unnatural angle.
It hissed
weakly when Rufus approached, but the bull did not retreat. Rufus had never been gentle with smaller creatures. He was a bull bred for strength and dominance. But something about the bobcat stirred a memory deep in him. The soft nuzzle of his calf long gone, and the warmth of companionship he had not felt in years. Carefully, with surprising delicacy, he used his massive horns to lift the branch just enough for the bobcat to wriggle free. The animal limped out, but instead of running, it collapsed against Rufus's leg, trembling with exhaustion. The first days were awkward. Rufus tried to maintain his distance, unsure how to interact with such a small, fragile creature. The bobcat, who Rufus soon learned to call Jasper, would curl up under his belly at night, seeking warmth and safety. They had no shared language, only gestures and sounds. But slowly a bond formed. Rufus would graze near water holes, keeping an eye on Jasper as the little cat scavenged for food. When danger approached, sometimes a hungry coyote or a vulture scouting for a meal, Rufus would stand firm, his immense presence enough to scare away almost any threat. The ranchers who had once abandoned Rufus noticed him wandering near the old fence lines. At first, they assumed he was starving and alone, but when they saw Jasper, they were stunned. A bobcat with a bull, one muttered incredulously. The two creatures moved together, an impossible duo navigating the wilds. Neighbors whispered about it for months. A bull and a bobcat, walking side by side, eating side by side, even sleeping near each other under the stars. It wasn't just that the friendship was unusual, it was that both creatures were profoundly broken. Rufus carried the weight of abandonment, of having once belonged and now being discarded. Jasper had been hurt by humans in other ways, caught in a trap meant for coyotes, leaving him limping and mistrustful. And yet, in each other they found a strange mutual solace. One night, a violent storm swept through the plains. Thunder rolled like a war drum, and rain pelted the earth in sheets. Rufus huddled against the wind, using his massive body as a shield over Jasper, who trembled violently beneath him. Lightning struck nearby, and Rufus felt a wave of panic unlike anything he had ever known, but he refused to move. He refused to abandon the tiny life that had come to depend on him, just as he had been abandoned once. When the storm passed, they emerged muddy, soaked, and exhausted. But there was a silent acknowledgement between them, a recognition that they had survived together. Rufus grazed slowly, carefully scanning the horizon, while Jasper sat perched on a fallen log, licking his wounds and occasionally brushing against Rufus's leg. The silence between them was comfortable, the quiet rhythm of two unlikely friends who had found in each other a lifeline. Over time, the local wildlife began to take notice. Birds would perch on Rufus's back as he wandered through the fields, and smaller animals dared to approach Jasper, sensing the protection offered by the bull. There were moments of sheer magic, Rufus nudging Jasper up a steep embankment, or Jasper chasing a rabbit only to dart back to Rufus's side when the chase proved too dangerous. They were a team, each one compensating for the other's weaknesses. But not all encounters were gentle. One afternoon, A coyote pack ambushed Jasper while he hunted near a dry creek bed. Rufus, grazing nearby, saw the attack and charged with terrifying speed, horns lowered, hooves thundering against the earth. The coyote pack scattered, yelping in confusion and fear. Jasper, shaken but unharmed, nuzzled Rufus's side in gratitude. Rufus snorted softly, as if to say, "I've got you," and they continued their walk together, side by side, their bond deepened by shared danger. Word of their friendship spread. Hikers and photographers ventured to catch a glimpse of the strange pair. Some brought food, leaving it near the old fence line, while others just watched, amazed at the sight. Children would point excitedly at the bull and the bobcat, their parents explaining that sometimes friendship came in the most unexpected forms. And yet, despite the attention, Rufus and Jasper remained fiercely protective of each other, wary of anyone who might try to separate them. Months passed, and the seasons shifted. The harsh summer gave way to a cold, brittle winter. Snow dusted the plains, and water sources froze over. Rufus's thick coat shielded him from the worst of the cold, but Jasper, small and delicate, suffered. Rufus would nudge him into the sun, shielding him with his bulk, and even share the warmth of his body when nights grew unbearably cold. Their mutual care was a lesson in resilience, a testament to the unlikely power of friendship. Then came the day that changed everything. A wildfire, sparked by lightning, swept through the plains with terrifying speed. Rufus and Jasper ran, dodging flames and choking smoke. Rufus's strength allowed him to push through fallen trees and debris, but Jasper struggled. At one point, a wall of fire separated them. Jasper yowled in fear and Rufus bellowed, answering with a sound that seemed to shake the earth itself. Somehow, they found each other again, Rufus lowering his massive head so Jasper could leap onto his back. They emerged on the far side, scorched and exhausted, but alive. The aftermath was a somber sight. The plains were blackened, the trees charred, and the grass reduced to ash. Yet Rufus and Jasper survived, clinging to each other as the world around them healed slowly. Their bond had endured fire, storm, and abandonment. It was a bond that defied reason, one that inspired awe in those who witnessed it. As years passed, Rufus grew older, his steps slower, his body heavier with age. Jasper too matured, but the limp in his hind leg remained a permanent reminder of the trauma they had both endured. And yet every morning, they walked together, grazing and hunting, napping under the sun, and facing the world as a unit. Theirs was a friendship that transcended species, a love born from pain, survival, and trust. One quiet evening, Rufus lay down near a waterhole. Jasper curled beside him. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it the scent of sage and the memory of 1,000 sunsets. Rufus closed his eyes, tired but content, knowing that in this small, improbable friendship, he had found purpose again. Jasper purred softly, his tiny body warm against Rufus's side. And in that moment, both creatures understood something profound. Love and loyalty were not limited by size, strength, or circumstance. They were born in the hearts of those willing to care, to protect, and to forgive. Rufus had been abandoned once, left to the mercy of the wilds, and Jasper had been hurt by a world that had never been kind. Together, they had created a sanctuary of their own, a home defined not by fences or past mistakes, but by the simple act of being there for one another. Their friendship shocked everyone who saw it, but for Rufus and Jasper, it was simply life messy, complicated, and beautiful. And so, under the vast expanse of the starlit plains, the bull and the bobcat rested side by side, proving that the most unexpected friendships are sometimes the strongest, and the most heartbreaking stories often carry the deepest hope.